Hello, Internet. Happy Sunday. Welcome to the Sunday Sketch. I might draw some stuff, and hopefully we'll have a good time. So, it is both Easter Sunday and April Fool's Day, which is a very strange combination, I must confess. But I will not prank you, and I guess I could draw a bunny. I don't want to get too religious, although that is part of the reason I am doing this later in the day, because I know some people have, Easter Sunday things to do. Let's draw a bunny. Bunnies are relatively associated with Easter, and at least until I have people in the chat suggesting things. Let's go ahead and go for it. Bunny does sound great. And in fact, I'm going to try and draw it in this sort of Zootopia style. See if I can actually nail it. I've never been able to do Disney styles, at least not like the eyes and stuff. There are certain things that just always seem to escape me. So I'm going to practice that style today with this Judy Hopps here. See if I can't get the basic gist of it. And I'm also going to try, I think, a little bit of a style challenge for myself. I've been practicing this idea where everything is less detailed. It's a way to lead the eyes around, and what it is whatever the focal point of the image is has the most detail, and then as you get further away from the focal point, you get less detail. So you get those backgrounds that look really like kind of messy and painty, versus the when you close it, somebody's face might have a lot of detail, but the background might not, that kind of thing. So anyway, gonna practice a few things. So first off, of course, gotta do the general shape study and everything. So let's see how our Judy Hopps here is constructed. See if we can get something Disney looking. So shoulders and hips are that way. There's definitely a curve to the body there. Rib cage is about here. And the pelvis is like right in here. Then we've got legs. The knee is probably above that, so probably there, because of how knee pads work, right? Knees are there and there. And then she's got these big ol' rabbit feet. She's not really an Easter bunny, but she is a bunny for sure. And I could try doing Bugs Bunny, but I've always wanted to improve at like a Disney style, because the eyes, I think they do a really good job at having really nice expressive eyes. That's one of the big draws, and their characters are always really what do you call it? They have a lot of appeal. They're very appealing characters, which is, of course, one of the principles of animation, character appeal. She got her cheeks, and her head is kind of has an interesting shape to it, and the ears. Let's see. So if I broke this down into more basic shapes, I bet I could. Because she's definitely got this sort of eggplant shape. She's a salad because she's got like this mushroom cap kind of head on top of an eggplant. Can't think of anybody who would want an eggplant salad, but you know. I'm sure they exist. Do, 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 do. And her ears are kind of big, round shapes as well. So that's a more basic shape breakdown. And I've also got the skeleton in there. So now that I think I've got a pretty good fix on kind of what makes her the way she is as far as shape and everything. So let's try to draw a bonnet in this style. So let's see. Obviously we want to try and do some kind of an Easter bunny, right? So let's do a pose. And I always saw the Easter bunny as kind of hopping around, you know, obviously. But let's give it a little bit of a skip. And Judy, not quite as curvy, so let's do a curvy rabbit. Still kind of getting that eggplant shape, but I think what I'm doing is in the pose, I'm accentuating some of the curves that are already there. And I want to have this Easter bunny skipping. So skipping, of course, you have a leg here, and then the other leg is going to come up here. And then this arm we're going to have up. And then this arm we're going to have down. So that's going to be our pose. So now let's add those basic shapes. Again, we've already got our kind of eggplant shape. And I'm not trying to go for exactly Judy Hopps here, but if we get close or similar, I don't really feel bad about that at all. I think she'd make a fine Easter bunny. That doesn't really look like it's skipping enough. There we go. That looks more like a skip, like pushing off the ground, right? Definitely got to have enough action in the action pose. Then let's see the arms. We'll have one arm here. And that'll end up being that square. And then there we go. And this is going to be the arm with the basket on it. And then this arm is, I don't know, maybe we'll put an egg in it. It'll be fine. Gonna raise the chin up a little bit because the eye line's gonna be looking up a bit. So we're gonna do it like that. And we still have kind of that mushroom head shape. And then because we're having this particular bunny skip, we're gonna put some a little bit of an action line into the ears. I feel like that's actually a lot of a curve, but we're gonna have the ears kind of swoop back a bit. And actually, I'm pretty sure Judy Hopps is a hare, now that I think about it, because I don't think bunnies or I think rabbits have their ears a little differently than hares, and I think she has more hare ears than rabbit ears. But don't quote me on that. I'm not a biologist. Just something I vaguely remember from some biology classes. And I forgot to put that on a different layer, so that's slightly embarrassing, but fixed it, so there we go. Quiet that down a bit and draw over the top of it. So we're gonna have ears coming all the way back here. And now here's the trick that I just never seem to get down is the eyes, because Disney eyes are just so crazy, right? So I'm going to try and land the expression that I'm going for, which is kind of this. Fairly small mouth. Little bunny nose. And then, of course, this cheek is going to be up more. And then she's got these big eyes. huge eyes, really. Okay, so I think I've got the face kind of where I want it. So now we got to decide what kind of costume we're going to put this bunny in. And I'm thinking something Eastery, something festive. Probably not an Easter dress just because of how I've posed her. With the hopping, but we could certainly come up with something. So let's do a blouse, right? A nice blouse. That's a cat. Something kind of like that. And I think these styles are mostly long-sleeved. But they're also kind of puffy. So I'm going to give it this round, kind of breezy look. Like that. And then what would look good in that? Obviously some like shorts, right? I'm actually going to change the foot position here, I think, because of just the angle that this leg is ending up at. It's going to look more like that. Cute little pair of shorts. And then the wrist and the hand, and of course we're going to do the rounded fingers. She's got 3 fingers and a thumb. And I'm going to try and do it in this sort of relaxed, kind of limp, not limp-wristed, but kind of reflexed, sort of relaxed pose with the hand here. So we're going to have one finger kind of curled close, and then the next finger curled more loosely. And so on is the idea, but hands are a little tricky to draw, so I'm going to have to take a little bit of time on this one. Finger 1, curl there, finger 2, right there. And finger 3 can be right there. And I think my cats are having a showdown in my window. Maybe not. I just noticed it got real dark there. There we go. That looks like a hand. How to do this hand? I'm thinking. Probably something like this. And there we go. Oh, Gesundheit. There's our bunny. Now, let me show you what I mean by going that sort of detail to more detail to less detail, right? So obviously we want her face to be pretty detailed. So we're going to actually end at her face, but first we got to build in the rest, right? So I'm going to go ahead and block in the color that we're trying to use, which I think for this bunny will be, let's do this nice brown color. Is that spring enough? A sort of light brown bunny, light brownish gold. Make it lighter. Oh, whoops. Need to do that on another level. Okay, so we're gonna take watercolor. We're gonna make a big brush, and then we're gonna start blocking this in. And hopefully, if I do this correctly... Hi, cat. We'll start to see something take shape. I mean, not that it already doesn't have, or doesn't already have shape, but... Hopefully you'll see what I mean. Let's make this layer go away. Okay. So I'm gonna do this, try and do this kind of all on one layer. Kind of try some loose sort of things. Let's see, what's a nice spring color that would look good on this bunny? Let's do purple. Like just a light purple. Yeah, that's too much. That's too dark. Well, it's a good start. Good starting point. So I haven't started adding detail yet. I will get there, I promise. But not yet. Right now I'm still just blocking in all the colors of the wind. Trying to go light where I just want it to blend really well. That's too dark. That's better. basic blue jean shorts. Feel like those are pretty solid conceptually. And then let's do some white sneakers or white rabbit shoes. Zootopia has kind of funny rabbit shoes. Kind of like spats, really. Not sure if that's an homage to anything in particular. Right, and so we can already see I've put in enough detail here to give you more or less a basic idea of what this bunny looks like, right? And then what's going to end up happening is I'm going to start adding details in, but I'm going to add more details into the center or the focal point that I want, which in this case is going to be the face, the feels. So we're going to actually shift these layers around a little bit. Blur that. So I'll start adding details into the feels. The facial area. Right, and it's going to start nice and big and loose and kind of expressive. And then at some point, I'm going to have to start building in details and getting my brush smaller and smaller. And that's the plan moving forward. And let's do like nice blue eyes. And you see, I could probably leave it here, and you'd be able to tell that, okay, that's a bunny, right? I could probably leave it here, but I'm not going to, obviously. those eyelashes. Gotta make sure I get it shaped to look like eyelashes. Oh. Gonna have the focal point be the eyes as much as I can, which means I get to add as much detail as possible to the eyes and nowhere else really. I mean, some other places will have detail, obviously, but the eyes will need the most of it. this part will be about tightening up lines. Making everything as nice and smooth as possible. Okay, now let's fix up that nose. I have not drawn Mew before. I can definitely say I have not. Think I should give it a try? Oh, thank you. I have been practicing for quite a while now. Feels like. So you see, as I've been adding lines, as I've been adding more contour, more detail, you get a sharper, much sharper focus on certain parts of the face and the body, really. And according to the style I'm attempting, I can stop this at basically any time I want. Adding detail, I mean. And the detail comes from adding more contrast, adding darkness and light. Oh, thank you very much. That's very nice of you to say. had to come a long way to get to where I am, and it's been a lot of effort. I'm lucky to have had some great teachers over the years. And so, hopefully, for those of you who've been watching and those of you just joining us, I am drawing a bunny due to it being Easter for sure, and it's giving me some good practice on a few things. Trying to get those Disney eyes, that's been hard. But one of the techniques I'm practicing with this particular image is I've seen a lot of artists lately that I've been watching have done this thing where they add more detail to where they want your eye to focus. So if you look right now, like I could leave this picture kind of how it is now, and the cat is bumping my webcam, and you'd still be able to tell that yes, this is a bunny, right? So goodness, cat. So I could leave it here, and you could see that you can still get the face and the pose and everything. I'd probably add some contrast and like a background so that you could have a better idea of what it was. But you can kind of still tell that it's a bunny, and a cartoon bunny specifically. But then the eye is drawn to the detail points, so the face, right? The eyes specifically, I added the most detail to those eyes. And so that's a way that you can make a focal point in a piece of art, which is what I've been trying to practice recently. And sometimes people make focal points with using contrast. Sometimes they create focal points by using size, contrast in size, but contrast in detail is one that I've never practiced a lot. And I've been seeing it pop up more and more. It seems to be kind of a very in sort of technique. And so I thought I'd give it a try. I don't like that line there. Now, the neck needs to be a little narrower because when I copied some anatomy from Judy, she has her ZPD costume, and it has a collar on it. So when I go in to make this neck, it definitely needs to be a bit narrower. try and blend some of this. Okay, so next, Happy Easter, by the way. You too. Have a great Easter. Thanks for stopping by. So next what I'm doing is I'm actually adding a lot less detail on this section. Still adding shadows and lights and things, but I'm not gonna tighten it as much as far as line work goes. I'm gonna keep it nice and loose. While still adding enough lights and shadows to give it a good functional shape. And also you might notice I'm not really adding lines to her body. Like I did with the face. I'm cleaning up where the image is a little messier than it should be. Gonna tighten up the hands a little bit. The hands are a very expressive part of the image and the pose, so I want to draw a little bit of attention to them. And I want them to look anatomically correct, so that they don't look like they're out of place or like they're wrong. Okay, now there are a couple places where I feel like the line work could be a little bit tighter, especially around this leg. Because this leg needs enough contrast to make it look like a leg. And the blouse and leg, they get really that sort of watercolor blending in kind of thing going on, which is not quite the look I'm aiming for. So I'm going to tighten that up a little bit. There we go. That's kind of an important spot, I feel like. So I had to make sure I got the anatomy a little bit, or the lines just a little bit stronger. I've got that Portal song stuck in my head right now. I recently beat Portal, so just that song that she sings at the end is in my head. Keep trying not to hum it. Cat. And then yeah, that's a little too much detail on the shoes. Feel like the shoe gets a little bit lost. I feel like white shoes are fine for this time of year, right? Probably. And there you go. Now see, watch what happens when I just throw a background on it, and let's see what kind of, oh, green. I'm like, what kind of color haven't I used that's Eastery and springy? Green. So let's throw a nice gradient, as the kids call it. Kids don't call it that. And okay, the hands get a little lost, so I'm gonna fix that. That's better. Providing a little bit more contrast helps, for sure. Let's change the sky color. Okay. Alright, so a few things still need spruced up in this, but you can definitely see what I'm going for when I'm talking about low detail to high detail. Like the background right now. It's just a gradient. It's a modified gradient so that it's, you know, towards the transition line is a little bit tighter. I tightened it up just a little bit. But basically, you know that it's supposed to be grass and that the sky is supposed to be sky, right? And that this bunny is supposed to be on it. So I can do things like add more detail to the background. I can add more detail to the bunny, but the eyes are immediately drawn to the face more than anything else because there is a lot more detail there, a lot more expression there, something that you can actually grab onto and focus on. Everything else, like if I took the face away, it would look kind of amorphous, and you wouldn't have that focal point to go on. So see if I just blurred the face out, basically, you might, your eyes might end up drawn to something else, like the, especially if I made it a similar color to the skin tone, your eyes might be drawn to something else like the, her blouse or the, her shoes because of the contrast, maybe, although the shoes are a little, I could tighten up the shoes. I think the blouse is the next thing that the eyes could be drawn to just because of the amount of contrast. It's probably the, one of the darker colors in the image, if not the shorts. So anyway, but that's kind of what I was aiming at. So you have the contrast of high detail to low detail, and that's what I've been trying to practice and want to put in some of my other work. I did the same thing with a recent image I put up on my my Patreon. You can see it on Patreon or on my art gallery website, with this cat bug sort of character that I created, and I was adding a lot more detail to the face, and the rest of the body was just ending up to be, you know, like blocky kind of things, and I added lights and shadows and things like that. It's very simplified. And I think it ends up being a really cool stylistic choice. It makes the image look a lot softer. Again, I think I could push this particular image a little bit further, get more detail just in the whole thing. But I think having that focal point of high detail is a very interesting style, and I'm glad that I got to practice it with you guys. I hope everybody had a happy Easter. If you want to support the channel, support my art, I am going to keep working on this piece, and I've got a couple others in the pipeline that should be going up on my Patreon as well as my art gallery. I will link both of those in the description of this video once it gets once the stream gets archived, and you can check those out there. I don't put ads on my YouTube videos or anything, so Patreon is the way to support me and my art and all the things that I do, if you're interested in doing that. Also, if you are interested in getting a piece done, for yourself, you can contact me through the messages on my art gallery to get a direct commissioned art piece from myself. But that being said, this has been my time. Thank you for joining me on the Sunday Sketch, and I hope to see you next time. But until then, goodbye, friends.